Well, we were out this summer. Yeah. We started at the lifeguard station for about a mile. I would not have seen it at all. I like something Saturday, Sunday morning. But it was a bad Sunday for the sun wasn't good. Cloudy. It's funny. I had to rush through my workout because I'm paranoid. I got 8:59. And now. Okay, you ready? Could everyone please take their seat? First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone to the 23-24 budget address. It's my pleasure to see for the first time my colleagues around the dais. It's such a warm feeling to see everybody sitting there, and this is really a monumental day. So why don't we begin with an invocation by Councilmember Freeman.
If you don't mind joining me in a word of prayer. Father God, we come to you today saying thank you, God. Thank you for an opportunity to yet again start a session and tackle the issues that are facing our city. God, your word tells us to take care of the widows and orphans and to look after the least of them, God. And you commanded us most of all to love each other as we love ourselves. That is our goal. Bless this time today. In your son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
If you would please join me with the pledge. Okay, we have a roll call, please.
Seventeen present.
Thank you. Well, it's my pleasure at this point to introduce our mayor, Donna Deegan.
Oh, here? Oh, here, up here?
Yes.
Okay, I thought I was speaking here. Okay, this is much better. I can see everybody. Fantastic. You know, it's been my running joke for 40 years that I got into broadcasting because I was told there would be no math. So, got to say, this is a little terrifying for me, but here we go. It really, truly, though, is my honor to be with you today to deliver my first budget for Jacksonville, the city that we all love. A special thank you to Council President Salem for the open door and for the many conversations and collaborations that we have already had. And to Vice President White, who has given me full access to his snack drawer, something that I have a very strong feeling he will come to regret, but that's okay. I think it's going to be a wonderful relationship, and I'm looking forward to it. I also want to thank our interim CFO, Mike Weinstein, incoming CFO and past Council President Anna Brochet, and former State Senator Audrey Gibson for leading our budget efforts. They put a lot of hard work into this, and I'm very grateful. I'm also grateful to Mayor Curry's team and all the department heads who took part in the Mayor's Budget Review Committee. Today's budget would not have been possible without our collective efforts. I celebrate the accomplishments of each City Council member on this dais. You all have achieved so much already. You have earned the respect and the trust of the people in your districts to represent them. And today, you're meeting their needs, responding to their requests, advocating for their kids and for their grandkids. So thank you for that. I'm honored to be serving alongside of all of you. After speaking with many of you over the past several weeks and look forward to getting to know all of you, I'll tell you, I know you share my passion for public service and a belief in working together for the betterment of Jacksonville. We owe it to our citizens to rise above the cynicism that undermines aspirations, to listen and understand rather than to just react, and to live up to our nation's motto dating back to 1776, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. It is fitting that Jacksonville is on the verge of generational opportunity at a time when much of the council is served by women and men whose family trees were planted here 2, 3, and 4 generations ago. The budget I am presenting today makes generational investments of $1.752 billion from the general fund, in addition to nearly $406 million from the capital improvement plan. I look forward to working with all of you to put these dollars to work for our community. With humility and respect for unknowable events, we remain prepared for the future, fiscally responsible and accountable to taxpayers while making much needed investments. Our CIP includes $64 million in PAYGO funds. That's a 156% increase from last year, which allows us to pay for projects instead of borrowing funds. The CIP also incorporates shovel-ready projects that can be completed over the next year. Our debt ratio numbers are within city targets. All 4 rating agencies have Jacksonville in good, stable standings. And we have reserved $20 million for future capital projects. All in all, our fiscal outlook remains strong. Infrastructure is the foundation for everything, even if it's not always terribly glamorous. The investments we are making will improve the quality of life for every family in every district. Resurfaced roads make the drive faster. New sidewalks provide safety. Better drainage and bulkheads help keep our small businesses and homes from being underwater. Removal of septic tanks improves the quality of our water. When we take care of our public infrastructure, more companies will want to build and move here. It means we are finally also making good on many of the broken promises of consolidation. Part of that foundation is ensuring our neighborhoods have better roads and sidewalks to reduce future maintenance costs and to improve safety for drivers and pedestrians alike. There is absolutely no reason that Jacksonville should be in the top 10 cities for pedestrian fatalities every single year. We have added nearly $26.8 million in roadway projects, a 67% increase from the 2022-2023 fiscal year, and $13.6 million in sidewalk and crosswalk improvements, a 78% bump. An additional $2 million is ensuring ADA compliance for sidewalks across our city. A $21.7 million mowing budget, which is a 95% increase. Yeah, I knew that was going to get some applause, right? That will increase trimming, edging, and litter pickup, so our roads have reduced blight. This budget also increases the mowing cycle in our parks, so they are better maintained and manicured. The St. Johns River continues to be polluted by decaying septic tanks, which affects the health of our river and the citizens who live nearby. Our budget provides $17.5 million in funding to continue removal of high-priority septic tanks and another $1 million in education and incentives that will go toward encouraging neighborhoods to participate in that removal process. Our many improvements will be rendered useless, though, for future generations if that infrastructure ends up underwater. We must aggressively address the simple mathematical fact that sea levels are rising. We see in daytime flooding, and we certainly see it when storms hit Jacksonville. Our budget directs $10 million for resilience infrastructure and staff positions to implement priorities coming from the vital flood, heat, and vulnerability studies that are currently underway. The work continues while we await these results from our Chief Resilience Officer. This year's budget puts $12 million towards drainage systems and stormwater maintenance. Another $16.5 million funds bridge repair and bulkhead replacement. Stormwater drainage improvements include $15.2 million for the LaSalle Street outfall, $7 million for the McCoys Creek outfall, and $4.5 million for citywide outfall ditches. Beyond flooding, we must also prepare ourselves for more extreme heat. Our budget includes $1.5 million for tree maintenance, and we will work to quickly utilize the unallocated $20 million that separately remains in the Tree Replacement Trust Fund. We should not have neighborhoods that are 10 to 15 degrees warmer than the rest of the city on hot summer days. It's not necessary. Planting more shade trees will beautify our neighborhoods, reduce temperatures, lower our energy bills, and provide root systems that soak up water during storms. It is my belief that investing in our parks, riverfront, and trails will increase the quality of life for our citizens and attract more visitors to our beautiful city. Our budget makes big investments in those areas, with strong focus on creating a series of continuous riverfront parks and trails to bring in people from across the city to live, work, and play in a thriving downtown. On the North Bank, these transformative downtown projects include $45 million for the Liberty Street Marina, Shipyards West Park, and the North Bank Riverwalk extension from Catherine Street to Metropolitan Park. On the South Bank, $15 million will fund the Riverwalk extension and 2 new docks. We are also making more than $9 million of continued investment into the Emerald Trail. Completion of the Hogan's Creek Greenway, McCoy's Creek Greenway, and Hogan's Creek to Riverwalk segments will connect Springfield, East Side, Brooklyn, the Rail Yard District, and West Side to the riverfront. I cannot wait to see folks walking, running, and biking on the Emerald Trail, not to mention going on a connected trail run myself. We have certainly heard our citizens loud and clear on having more pools open for these sweltering summer days. That is why we have added an additional $500,000 for pool maintenance and nearly $4.5 million to complete the First Coast High School pool. Another $8.5 million will go toward upgrading parks across Jacksonville, including Archie Dickinson, Hannah, and Riverside parks. We have the largest urban park system in the United States. Let's make sure it is also the greatest. Beyond our parks, we're also doing more to draw in world-class conferences, concerts, and sporting events to Jacksonville. Nearly $13 million will fund renovations and improvements at the Prime Osborne Convention Center, Ritz Theater, 121 Financial Ballpark, home of the Jumbo Shrimp. We're also providing $250,000 for the Bethune-Cookman versus Southern University football game and $184,000 for the Bob Hayes track meet. These events bring our communities together, yes. These events bring our community together and also offer an important economic impact for us as well. In a city like ours that is bursting at the seams with creative talent, support for the arts is paramount to our quality of life and our economy. Artists and musicians are our neighbors who have a gift which brightens the lives of all who can see it, hear it, or experience it. It is our duty to support the arts and venues where we can enjoy them. That's why our budget calls for the Cultural Council to be funded with $8.25 million. That's a $3 million increase. Let's be a more vibrant city where our artists choose to stay. Public health continues to be an important priority for my administration. Our budget provides $40 million to UF Health for their services to underserved citizens and another $25 million for building improvements at the hospital. Our Chief Health Officer is already hard at work looking at ways to better coordinate care across providers throughout Jacksonville. Keeping our families safe and delivering life-saving emergency service is the noble work of the hardworking women and men in our police and fire departments. To ensure they are staffed and equipped to fulfill that duty, our budget places public safety as a top priority. I've looked at the numbers, and in a fast-growing city of our size, we absolutely need more police officers on the streets and in our communities. It is a belief I share with Sheriff Waters, Council President Salem, and many of you. This budget provides the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office with $7.8 million in additional funding to add 40 police officers and 18 non-uniformed positions. Our increased investment in the city's motor pool will provide 66 new vehicles to the force, and $3 million in capital improvements will be funded for the police memorial building and jail. We're also making robust investments in the Jacksonville Fire and Rescue Department, so response times will continue to decrease in the event of a medical emergency or a fire. 60 new positions are funded there, with 15 of those being posted at the new Marine Station that is opening next year. Additionally, the capital improvement plan budget dedicates $31 million for the construction of new fire stations. As a supporter of organized labor and a believer in the heroic work of our women and men in uniform, I'm proud that our budget also makes good on the 4.25% raise that was promised to our police and fire unions 2 years ago. Our overall public safety investments in staff and equipment show our support for the difficult job they have while keeping pace with the rising public safety needs for a fast-growing city like ours. Public safety is not only about reacting when things go wrong. It is also about being proactive. It starts with providing safe spaces for our kids to play and opportunities to engage young minds. That's why our budget provides an additional $5 million to expand the number of facilities that service our youth through the Kids Hope Alliance, increasing the reach and effectiveness of their efforts. When 70% of the people in our jail cannot read at a 4th grade level, it is clear there is an undeniable link between literacy, success, and quality of life. The Jacksonville Public Library will receive $1.5 million to expand services, as well as more than $4 million for capital improvements in locations around the city. Open access to knowledge, history, entertainment, and the arts is life-changing for our youth. Our partnership with the Kids Hope Alliance and Jacksonville Public Library will be important building blocks as we look to a reimagined and reinvigorated Jacksonville journey with a citywide focus on literacy. When we've taken care of our infrastructure and ensured our citizens are healthy and safe, that is when our local economy can really thrive, thanks to the small businesses that drive 80% of it. They are family-run shops open for generations, just like the restaurants in my own family, and new ventures launched by enterprising entrepreneurs. $1.25 million is budgeted for small business development support and $108,000 for the UNF Small Business Development Center. Our goal is to invest in expanding a business environment where we create jobs and allow for financial security and building generational wealth. Doing this will keep our homegrown talent and attract the best and brightest from around the country. Entrepreneurial spirit and ambition are often slowed by a permitting process that is overwhelmed. Time is money for any business. Our budget provides $21.72 million for planning, permitting, building inspections, and enhanced technology. Nearly $1 million in additional funding creates 4 new positions and provides equipment to improve the process. The return on that investment will be a system which is faster and easier to navigate. There are so many invaluable nonprofit organizations that work on the street level and fill the gaps for our community. Our budget invests $9 million in public service grants, a $3 million increase that reflects the growing reliance on their services, from helping children and adults overcome speech and hearing hurdles to mental health, healing, and addiction counseling. They work out of the spotlight, but their presence serves as a beacon of hope for all who need them. During the transition, I created 7 task forces to explore policies and action plans that move our city forward: infrastructure, health and economic development, public safety, arts, culture and entertainment, constituency and community outreach, and military and veterans affairs. As this budget came together, they have been hearing from a grassroots network of more than 200 active and engaged citizens. These are people from every corner of our city and from all walks of life, sharing their experiences and their ideas to recommend policies and action plans that move our city forward. With a final report arriving in early September, we have set aside $25 million to start implementing many of the recommendations they make. In addition to the opportunities and challenges that I've already covered today, these task forces will offer solutions to come out of to some of our most pressing issues. Ensuring all of our neighborhoods receive their fair share of services when the broken promises of consolidation still live with us today. Taking decisive action on our housing crisis, where 147,000 of our lower income neighbors are on a waiting list for affordable housing. Our budget already includes more than $3 million for rental and legal assistance and that is just the beginning. Doing more to serve our homeless population and provide services that get them back on their feet. Better supporting our military and veteran families in a community where 1 in 4 of us have ties to military service. Improving transportation options for our fast-growing population, which, as a reminder, spans more than 840 square miles. Finding new ways to merge and coordinate the missions of our nonprofits, higher education institutions, and faith communities, and importantly, engaging the younger generation so they decide to set down roots and continue to grow their own Jacksonville family trees. It is promising to see the City Council looking out into the future with 1, 3, and 5-year strategic plans. My hope would be that we can also partner on plans that look 10 and even 20 years out. In that spirit, we have included $7.5 million to fund the health, housing, and homelessness programs that make up the 1-year strategic plan, all very worthy initiatives that we can build upon. We've also set aside $3 million in a contingency fund requested by Council President Salem. This budget reflects the priorities of the people. It invests their money in ways that will create more opportunities to live, earn, learn, and love with a good quality of life. It is intentional. It keeps the promises of the past and builds a city of the future, a city that works for all of us and where our children will stay and raise their own families. President Franklin D. Roosevelt once said, "To some generations, much is given. To other generations, much is expected. This generation of Americans has a rendezvous with destiny." I look forward to answering your questions as we work hand in hand to fulfill Jacksonville's destiny. Thank you, and may God bless our journey.
Council Chair Howland, you have your work cut out for you. Are there any questions from the council? Okay, seeing none, then we will adjourn at this point, and our neighborhood committee will start in 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Not knowing your number, is that what stick around just to welcome them, then I've got to run to a meeting.
So, thank God I'm not the mayor. Seems like a lot of work, a lot of pressure. Good. Yeah, yeah, don't waste it. I don't think if I started stand-up, my premier gig would be at City Hall. That's too much pressure. I don't know. My jokes wouldn't really land with that audience. Check, check, mic check, check, 1, 2, check, check, check. Have you guys seen that weird commercial? It is for a pain relief that Lady Gaga is doing. She did not show up to set. It's just a voiceover over performance footage. Are we good?
Check 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 1. We're good?
Nice job on the room. Looks good. Y'all ready to start spending some more time up here? Just got a new paint job in my office. You'll have to come in and see it. It's yellow. We've gone from gray to yellow. Paint color is called Good Vibrations. Waiting on y'all. Shoot when ready. Well, listen, like I said, basically what I did is I went to Mike Weinstein, Senator Gibson, and to Anna Brochet, and I said, these are my priorities. Let's find the things that we can pull up that are the most shovel ready, or the things that we can invest most in that will hit these priorities. Because largely this is my budget and not my budget. That's because you come in with so much already established. So I think what we did is we tried to go as hard as we could toward those priorities of infrastructure, health, and economy, with a special attention to small business. And so that's, and with an eye toward what we could do in our underserved communities. So I think that was really the big focus, and I think they did a fantastic job of pulling out those projects that we could fund immediately and get going on. Well, yeah, we talked. They're all on your list here. I mean, we talked about some of them. The neglected neighborhood projects in the CIP. There's ash and pollution remediation at Lonnie Miller Park, 5th and Cleveland, Forest Street, Brown's Dump. That's $4.2 million. I mean, that's you have Broward Road improvements, a new bridge, bike and pedestrian lanes, stormwater drainage, $1.5 million. They're all on the list. I mean, I can read them off for you, but Duval Road drainage, almost $1 million. Sebald Road sidewalks, $1.4 million. First Coast High School pool, $4.5 million. Highlands Library, $400,000. Mine Creek Road and West 20th Street road improvements, $350,000. Those are some of the things in our neglected neighborhoods. We also made sure that we put some more money into the JALA budget. We felt like they needed, with all of the challenges that we have right now in terms of affordable housing, especially, and some of the things that people are facing in terms of evictions, we thought they needed a little bit bigger budget. So we went ahead and put more money in that budget as well.
Mayor Deegan, was there any collaboration with Sheriff Waters for coming up with the number of officers in that 7.8 million for JSL?
We looked at what his request was. Sure. I mean, that's exactly what we did. We didn't have any sort of chance with 2 weeks to go into any sort of deep dive. So that's why I say what I say in terms of it's my budget, and yet a lot of it was already set. The raises, which we're obviously very happy about and are well deserved by our police and fire, were negotiated 2 years ago. A lot of the things were already in place. In terms of the officers, I said on the campaign trail, I felt like we needed them. That's what he requested, and we thought that was reasonable.
What do those 18 non-uniform positions look like?
Yeah, I thought you might ask about that. Let's see. Phil, where do we put that? Is that in my list? I don't think I brought that in with me. I think you're seeing a lot of funding into mental health in other parts of the budget, but I don't think that's part of the sheriff's budget. At least not that part. Not that part. Yes.
Mayor Deegan, that was my question related to that. I went to the community engagement and climate prevention committee last week to talk about those nonprofit organizations that help people be rehabilitated and brought into society and become functional members of society. But I asked about what about those that didn't have the mental issues or they're violent, and then you see the left side of the
Mhm.
Is there anything in place to get the people's health, their mental health, and counseling and any way to prevent the people from falling back and maybe hurting other people?
Well, we set aside $25 million for the initiatives that come out of those committee meetings. We are hearing all of the fantastic conversations and the work that is coming out of those. And so we didn't want to presume what the suggestions were going to be coming out of those committees. We wanted to set aside money to make sure once we know where we want to march, we have the money to go there. So certainly mental health is an important focus. I know it is for Council President Salem as well. Health overall is an important focus for this administration. So absolutely, once we get finished with those committee assignments, we're hoping to have a lot more investments that we can announce in terms of those issues.
And there were some citizens at the meeting who talk about there's a lot of waste in the nonprofit organizations. A lot of money that goes to help for the people that really need it, and sometimes it goes other ways.
Well, one of the things we are absolutely going to do, and I've already started to put some of those things in place, is we're going to create accountability measures throughout city government for every department and also for all of those things. It's going to be very, very important and a big part of our work to make sure that those organizations, those nonprofit organizations that get dollars from us, that make sure that the departments where we invest dollars, those are all accountable to making sure that we're actually moving the city forward in the way that we want to. So you're going to hear more about that in the coming days. We're developing those mechanisms now, but that's another part of the work that's coming out of these committees. We're gonna create a lot more accountability in terms of how our dollars are spent.
How much collaboration among city council members? I know you mentioned President Salem, but just with other council members, did any of them come up to you and say, hey, I think this would be great to have in your budget?
Well, remember, like I said, I had a couple of weeks, right? So my big goal was to make sure that we had priorities of things that we talked about during the campaign into that budget. But I have made a very intentional effort and have meetings almost every day. We're going through with each council person, trying to meet with them, hearing about their priorities, what they need for their districts, places where they feel that we have fallen short and places where they feel like we can do better. So I've met with several of them already and we'll continue to go through on the calendar until I've met with everybody. My goal with Council President Salem from the get-go has been we have spent a lot of time in each other's offices to really collaborate, because I think we have a very synergistic visions for where we want things to go on a lot of fronts. Very, very interested in investing in infrastructure, and in the septic tank issue is big for everybody, right? But then also he's very, very focused on health. The opioid crisis is a very big one for him. And so we've really worked together well in terms of our health initiatives. But that's what I'll be doing with all the council members, finding out what's important to them, where they feel like we can do better.
On that same line, are you anticipating any problems with council, given the makeup, the new makeup that? How's it gonna be? Is there gonna be a budget battle, or you can just kind of go about it?
Jim, I'm never one that tries to predict the future. I will only tell you that I think things are always made better by good relationships. And so it has been my goal from day one, and will continue to be my goal, to build those relationships. We're not going to always agree on everything. That's true with anybody, right? But I do think the more we can communicate and find out where those commonalities are, where those places where we both want to move the dial, I think we're going to have good success. So I'm optimistic about it. I don't anticipate any problems. I'm just going to continue to do what I need to do, and they will too. So.
As it pertains to permitting, I've spoken with a few people who are doing things in Springfield, Phoenix area, in that Arts district over there. And they have spoken about the permitting process over the Springfield region. It's a big headache. This money that is set aside, I mean, it's a lot of money for that permitting process. What's your vision for that and how it's going to improve?
Well, again, for businesses, both in permitting and procurement, time is money, right? It gets to the point where if you strip those departments to where they cannot effectively operate, then you're costing yourself money instead of saving yourself money. So our goal with that is to make sure that we streamline the process, but to do that, we have to add enough people doing the work to get the work done. So that's really what that's all about. We want to make sure, we have heard that repeatedly all throughout the city. So I think I'm very excited about creating a streamlined process for permitting and to create an office that's actually, functioning at the highest level it can be.
I have a question. So the McCoy Street project, I know there's been a lot of money that's been already dedicated to that project. This isn't already promised money towards that project, this is new money on top of that, the 7 million?
Phil, that is expanded money, right? Yeah.
And all of this is included in your budget, for the most part, is new money, it's not already promised money.
Yes.
You made mention about pools.
Hang on one second, Jim, because I promised over here, I'm giving you guys all the love. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
We all know you from, previous career with Burnstone Community, newly elected there. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What has this budget process been like? Just in big round, going through everything that you're going through, building on all the relationships, and going through this process, how does it help you, moving forward with the next one?
Well, listen, that's why I said I'm so grateful to the folks who helped us to work through this process. It is absolutely drinking from a fire hose when you've only got a couple of weeks to put together a budget, much of which is already in place. And so you're trying to find ways that you can make it your own. So to me, what has been most important for us is to start building those relationships, because when we look at the work that is going on now in the committees, the goal is to make sure that we can build upon that. And we've got a lot of new and exciting initiatives in the city through this office. And so what we're looking at doing for this first little while is really taking everything in and then going forward and saying, okay, what can we do going forward that will make this even better than we were able to craft with such a short period of time. So it's been a lot, but I think that's pretty much the deal when it comes to these. Wow. You get in and a month later, less than a month later, 2 weeks later, you're presenting a budget. So I would love to see at some point us to take a look at perhaps changing that process, but that's not today. So that's something I'd love to take a look at. Yes. It's okay. Go ahead. Jim will get his questions in, I promise.
I heard from Jacksonville throughout the year, that nothing overtime. And for this budget, it's obviously an investment in literacy, such as tanks. Now that the budget is in place, what else do you think your office can do to make sure that you can push that?
Well, I listed some of those things when I was telling you about what the committees were doing. I think it's going to be vitally important to take a look at how we can really address affordable housing. I think it's going to be, that we've heard that from so many people. I think it's going to be important to continue to take a look at how we can engage young people. I want to continue to invest in our arts community. There are a lot of things that we aren't going to know how we will proceed on the literacy front with the Jacksonville Journey. All of those things will come out of those committees. And so to me, you talk about people who say they feel forgotten. I think a lot of that is bringing people into the process. So I'm sure you noticed in the last couple of weeks, we brought Garrett Dennis in to head our boards and commissions and made that a real priority for this administration. We really elevated that position because the whole idea with that is to diversify those boards and bring people in from every walk of Jacksonville so they will have a voice, but also to make sure we activate those boards. It's a process. And we also have our chief of diversity and inclusion working along with him to make sure that those boards really do reflect Jacksonville. So I'm excited about that. These are all things that are going to go forward as we start to implement those things that come out of these committees. But I think those are some of the ways in which we're going to continue to be responsive. That's, as many of you know, that's why I ran for this office. We need a city that works for everybody. We need to have everybody involved in the partnership for this city. And that's what the goal is. Go ahead, Jim. Next question.
About pools, and you had made a mention $500,000 basically pool maintenance. Is that enough? That's become a big issue now, that pools are open.
Mhm.
Half the pools still aren't open. What could we see happen?
Well, I think the maintenance is a big piece, especially right now because, what has happened apparently, from what I understand from talking to the folks over there, is that, a lot of it is supply chain issues. And so you have to start early with that stuff. But I also think, as we talked about last week, I think it's going to be very, very important to start a campaign in the media to make sure we're going out to the public to say, hey, we want people to come in and train to be lifeguards. Half the problem is we don't have enough lifeguards. And they bumped up what they were paying the lifeguards, still didn't get enough folks that were engaged in wanting to do it. So we need to start earlier. We need to have a campaign to bring those folks in, but we also need to make sure that our pools are maintained. And we also need to, like I said, I'm excited about the First Coast pool. That's going to be great too. But it's a process, pools, a lot of these pools are old. Their equipment breaks, and then you got to wait for equipment to get them back in action. So I think the $500,000 is a good start. We'll see how much we accomplish with that, and we're going to open a couple more pools next week. So hopefully we're going to get there, or this week. We are in this week now, aren't we? Yes. Okay. This week. Day 1, week 3. That's it. Yeah. Karen has a running total. Every time I say, why have we done this yet? Day 5, week 2, Donna. Day 5, week 2. So I got it. I can be a little anxious to get things moving. So, but we have only been here a couple weeks. I would remind all of you of that. Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, again, those are things that we're looking at right now. I think we've made a really good start with the things that we're investing in. I think if we can really get that riverfront opened up, we can get those bulkheads fixed, we can get the sidewalks fixed, the drainage, the roads. I think that's going to be a very, very good start in doing what we need to do. In terms of the extent of it, I think because we've talked before, I'd like to work hard on traffic patterns downtown. That's one of the things that I think that we need to do. That's part of infrastructure to me. I think accessing that $20 million in tree funds is going to be a really big deal. I was frankly stunned to find out how much money was sitting there unused in that fund. That is huge. To me, trees are infrastructure. And if we can take those trees and put them in places where the temperatures are 10 or 15 degrees higher in parts of our city, that does so much. It does so much for resilience. It does so much for drainage. And it does so much for the quality of life for our citizens. To me, that's infrastructure. So, but we'll continue to look at it as we go forward. You have to start someplace. And I think we've made a really robust start on some of those areas I think are very important. The controversy over what? Oh. Well, listen, I have always said that my job is to be the mayor of Jacksonville, and I will continue to do everything I can to make sure that Jacksonville thrives. And I think that making sure that people have access to books, making sure that literacy is lifted, making sure that we make everyone welcome in this city, those are priorities for me. I have every intention of having a good relationship with Governor DeSantis. I will do the same thing with him that I do with everybody else, listen and do my best to work across the aisle with him. I think that, I think sometimes things get elevated to a place where because of rhetoric that's thrown around, it becomes more difficult to work together with people. And so my goal really is to lift the voices of the folks who are talking about the importance of some of these things. When we talk about the importance of diversity, Our business community has told us loud and clear that is key to our success. So I'm hoping that those things are able to be discussed in a way that is not hyperbolic, that we can just try to create a better relationship around what we can do. And as I've said many times, I hope I will have the opportunity to lead my city. I think that local rule issues are probably my biggest concern there. But I'm looking forward to a good relationship with him and with everybody in the legislature. This year? I don't, at this point, I think that we have a pretty generous budget there, and that has encompassed a lot of things that he has said that he needed. I think really the only thing that's not in there is the 40 additional officers for the grant that he wants to go, but that hasn't even been done yet. So we can come back and discuss that if in fact he gets that grant. But I think this is a pretty, 58 positions, 58 new positions, I think is pretty in line with what he said he needed. And of course, he's got 40 new officers that are coming in now that were funded by the previous grant. A lot of that money that you're seeing in that budget beyond the $7 million is just money for raises that we have, had in the queue. So. I am perfectly happy to see what's happening there with council right now. They want to do a study. They want to do a feasibility study to find out what's the best location. Does it make sense to move it? Where would we move it? Those are the first steps you have to take before you decide. But the issue is we're running up against some laws in terms of how many people we can have in the jail and the safety of that. And so we have to take a look at what the options are there. And I'm fully in support of what they want to do in terms of just looking at it and studying it. And we'll go from there. It certainly is not a year one priority for me to try to move that jail. We have a lot of things on our plate, and I think studying it first and taking a look at where we might take it makes sense. I think Al is a wonderful human being and somebody who is extraordinarily connected to our neighborhoods. I think anybody who has ever worked with Al knows his love for our neighborhoods and knows how well he listens and works with anybody who ever comes to him with an issue. He's very responsive. So I think he's in the perfect place. I'm excited to see what he's going to do. And I would hope that the rest of this, we have certainly seen waivers many times before, and I would certainly hope that we could allow him to continue the good work he has already started in that department. Oh, hi, Andrew. How are you? I didn't even see you back there.
I wanted to ask about Confederate monuments.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's in urgency with Representative Black's legislation. My question is whether in the budget you have allocated the funds for removing the Confederate monuments, and whether that's going to get priority in this first year because of this sense of urgency.
It is my understanding that money that was already in the budget rolls over and is still there. I have said from the very first time anybody asked me that I think that removing the monuments is the thing to do. It's good for business. It's good for the people of this community that have to look at them every day and see a great deal of injustice. And so it would still be a priority for me to find a way to get those monuments down. Additional to the money that was already there? No, it's the same money that was there. Anybody else? Thank you. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time.